and I am here today. It is July the 17th, 2025, and I want to discuss a couple things that we got going on. Deal Maker Deal Maker Richmond is alive and well and going strong. And July was pretty cool. We had a good little event where had quite a few people show up the day before Independence Day, and we sat and talked, and we kind of peeled back the curtain a little bit about how we value properties in our business and what we do to determine the true value of a property, whether we're going to list it, whether we're going to buy it and flip it, whether we're going to sell the contract. What are we going to do to the property? And we went through the steps and how we value each and everything. Gave away a good little. I gave a good little give where I gave my worksheet to everybody that showed up. So if you missed it, well, you can come to the next one, and I might have the QR code for everybody then too. But let's kind of talk about what we're going to do next month. Next month's going to be really good, and it means a lot to me. It's something that's important to me because I've had to deal with this a couple times, and I dealt with it on the receiving end, and then I dealt with it in the planning phase, and so want to talk about what happens when you're no longer here, right? What you've created, what you've built, and what you've grown is now going to get passed to somebody else, right? Could it be an exit where you sell what you've built to somebody else as a business? Do you break everything back down, sell it off into individual pieces? What do you do? Now, in saying that, I want you guys to understand that nothing's perfect, and there's always going to be situations that need to be addressed one-on-one. But the more that you can have your plans and your affairs in order, the more peace you're going to have in understanding that life's going to go on, and people are going to miss you, but it's just the way that life is. And so did you want to be did you want to be a blessing in somebody's life? Did you want to leave a legacy that other people can model and other people can follow, or do you want to leave a nightmare? What do you want to do? We in our business, we deal with things all the time where people are fighting, right? And in this time where they're supposed to reflect and enjoy the life, in your life, they're fighting and they're arguing over this and that. And it's all because you didn't take the time to make sure that the foundation was in place, and that the paperwork is in place, so that you decided what everybody was going to get, and you decided what happened to your property, your money, your assets, right? Your stuff when you're no longer here, you no longer have control. So we did this where my father passed in 2021. He passed of COVID, and he left things to my sister and I, and through my sister and myself making a decision, we chose to have me handle the affairs of my father. And it became apparent just in the first few days of trying to get an understanding of what we had to deal with. It was a mess, right? It was not organized at all. My father had great intentions, but it wasn't organized, and there was stuff everywhere, and there were loose ends everywhere. There was assets, there was debts, there were liabilities, and things just in disarray. And so it took us quite some time to organize everything, compile everything, see what we had to do to get those affairs settled up and closed. And there's a better way. And I don't think my father expected that he was going to pass. It's just something that happened. It was during COVID, and he got sick, and he just didn't get better, and he just passed in his sleep. And what it, you know, what do you do about that? You just weren't expecting that. I mean, he was at work the day before, or a couple of days before rather. So, there was so many things that had to be resolved, and there's a better way. And so, learning from that experience, I told my wife Adila, I said, we need to prepare for this. But you know what? Time, gets in the way, priorities get in the way. And we didn't, uh, we didn't prepare. And so, about 6 months ago, we had some, life news that, we're not young anymore, and we had some health issues pop up with us, and we said we're not prepared for if these health issues become more serious than they are right now. And so we had to take the time, and we had to slow down and really set our priorities. As to our priorities are us, right? Our priorities are not our business. Our priorities aren't our customers, right? Our priorities are, we've built this business, these businesses, we've built these, assets, these liabilities, we've built this into our life, and we need to make sure that this is organized and easy to take care of, should one of us, have a serious issue. And not always is that, that's not always, death. That is incapacitation. That's, mental issues. All these things that just one day could appear out of nowhere. So we decided that we were going to get with our attorney of choice, which is Dankos Gordon and Tucker in Richmond, Virginia. And we decided that we were going to get with them, and we were going to get this done, and we were going to get this organized. So we got paired up with Lynn Tucker. And it was an excellent experience, where, we go through and we talk about what we have and what we want, and, what we don't want. And then they were able to complete the paperwork that we needed to be able to manage each other in the event that we can't manage ourselves. And, at the, during life and after life. And so, that was a humbling experience, but it was totally necessary, because that's what you have to do in this business, and in life. You have to do this. How many times have we as real estate investors dealt with properties that the people passed on, and it's just it's a title nightmare, or it's a emotional nightmare, or it's a it's it's an argument or a fight, to settle, real estate or other estate issues. We deal with this on an ongoing basis because people just, they don't think forward. They just, think in the here and now. And I'm encouraging everybody to come to our August the 7th event, where Lynn's going to speak, and she's going to discuss the importance. She's going to answer some of those questions that you have. She'll answer all the questions you have. Lynn, she loves doing this. She loves getting in front of her room. She loves helping people. I mean, everybody at Dankos Gordon and Tucker, they just have an affinity for helping people. And, I think they provide, they have that age old adage, and I think they exemplify it every single day and practice it every single day, is where they do more than they're paid for. They get on the phone, they talk to you, they have conversations with you. They're not just a transactional business, they're a relationship law firm. And I really appreciate the fact that I got steered to them several years ago by a dear friend of mine. And so I want to encourage everybody to come to August 7th, the event. We're going to have, lawyers, lenders, borrowers, real estate moguls, newbies. We're going to have everybody in the group, and I encourage everybody to come and just start to think, even if you don't, do the paperwork now, but start thinking, well, what is going to happen to, these 20 rentals that I have, right? My kids, they get along now well, but, are they going to get along when, there's, $1 million to settle? Right. My one kid, does a lot. My one kid lives in California. My one kid's not so great. Right. My one kid could not handle that kind of money. Or I have no children. right? That's a thing too. So what is it you want? How do you want it done? And that is, that's responsibility. That's what you're creating. Something you've created something, and now it's your responsibility to make sure that that's taken care of in the proper way, and that is managed as well as you're managing it now, right? Because you have pride of ownership. You love this thing that you built. You love this portfolio that you built. You're an awesome lender, right? But don't be disrespectful of it enough of what you built to say that it's not worth your time to not get your affairs in order. And if you have got your affairs in order, perfect. Let's come. You should come and see if there's something that you left out, or maybe you're so good at having your affairs in order, you have things you can share. If you guys have ever been to one of our Deal Maker Richmond events before, you have seen how it's a collaboration, right? We are not up there telling you how smart we think we are. We are in a collective, collaborative environment where we're all growing together, right? We value the feedback in the room. We ask, for questions. We want people talking the whole time, and we want everybody providing value, because the little secret here is that I'm not the smartest guy in the room by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. I'm just the pretty face up in the front, making sure that everybody is seated down in an appropriate time, and that the information that you bring and you provide is put out in a way that people receive it well. So that's really all I got. So August 7th, we open at 6 o'clock. We were doing the 5:30 thing, but people were straggling in a little too late. So we changed it to the doors open at 6 o'clock. We start talking at 6:30, and you have networking. You've got, some refreshments. And we just look forward to seeing everybody there. And, that's all I got today. So I really appreciate you guys, the people that, are watching this. I appreciate you so much. And I really look forward to seeing you guys August the 7th. And then in September, we've got Essie Weiss coming. She's going to talk about pad splits and how they're doing that at a high level. And then after that, we're going to have a fella here that's going to talk about cost segregation and tax planning, and what's really the best for you. Is depreciation better for you? Is cost segregation better for you? What's the value? And I'm sure he'll have plenty to talk about with the new big beautiful bill that recently was passed. So I look forward to seeing everybody there. So we got August, September, October, and then November and December are going to be great too. Just haven't planned them out yet. All right, y'all take care. God bless. We'll talk to you in August. Bye.